Okay, hello and welcome to this podcast. I'm Claire Dunphy-Hamani, and I'd like to introduce you to Sunni Almond of Studio S Pilates in Temecula, California. Am I saying Temecula right? Is that the way to say it?
You did.
All right. It's so great to see you. Thank you for joining me to just let our audience hear a little bit about you and your story and kind of how you came around to Pilates Avatar. But before we get to Pilates Avatar, you are an authorized studio and an ambassador, and I'm really so happy that you're willing to take the time out and talk with us. So let's start talking about you. I want to hear about, and I want our audience to hear about the famous Sunni Almond and how you got started with Pilates.
How I got started with Pilates. I had been a dancer, and after a certain age, nobody wants to see dancers. So I needed to find something else to do, because if you're dancing, 2 shows a night and 3 on weekends, and Monday's dark, and you're rehearsing all day long, and all of a sudden you stop doing all that, your body starts to change pretty quickly. So I needed to find something else to do, and I started teaching aerobics. I got certified to teach aerobics and personal fitness training, and I thought, wow, this is it. It was kind of a pedestrian move, and the dancer in me wanted more, and the kid that had been a gymnast wanted more, and so ironically, at the time I was a hairdresser also, because I've done probably everything, and one of my clients said her daughter was at the time certifying for Pilates, and I said, well, I'd heard of Pilates, but I didn't really know what it was.
Okay, hang
so
on.
she said
What year is this?
Oh gosh, probably 25-ish years ago.
So you are in the 1990s time?
Yes.
And you're finding out about Pilates, and you're in California?
Yes.
At the time. Okay. Just so that everybody kind of knows where we are geographically and on the timeline.
Yes, I'm settled currently between Los Angeles and San Diego. So I'm in Nowheresville, right smack in the middle of, I'm an hour from San Diego and an hour from LA and an hour from the beach, give or take, in Southern California, an hour from Palm Springs. I'm an hour from everywhere, hour from the mountains. So when her studio opened, I started taking lessons and classes, and my first thing I noticed was she had the coolest toys I'd ever seen. I'd never seen a reformer or the trap table, ladder barrel. It was like, this is all great stuff. And so I was fascinated immediately and wanted to know every last thing there was to know. And I worked with her for 10 years, and then she sent me to her teacher, her first teacher, which was Kathleen Murakami.
Oh, that was your first teacher.
My first certifying teacher was Kathleen Murakami.
Oh, what a lucky lady you are.
Right? So that was my mat cert. And then I chased them. I chased certifications all over the place. STOT and BASI and Polestar. And really what I did was a million workshops with no real actual certification handed off at the time, with the exception of the Polestar one, which came from the studio that I was working at. She was like a host studio, so I have that.
Well, there's such a process. The whole thing's a learning process, and a part of me thinks that in the old school, right, there were not certifications. I think Kathy Grant had a certification we purchased, but back then, there weren't certifications. You learned the old school way. The apprentice model. You learned by being in the studio.
And that's what I did. I just was baptism by fire, and I just showed up every day and worked every day and watched every day, and that's what I did. And then one day, my husband said, why are you making $10 an hour? If I build you a studio, could you make more money? And I said, yeah, I guess. So this room is a 2-car garage, and he added walls, and I did a mural, which you see in the background. My son lived in Thailand for a year, so I painted his view out his bedroom window on my wall, and so this is Thailand.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I got that, and I bought all sorts of used Gratz apparatus and studied and studied and studied and studied and studied, and became fairly successful teaching. And so how I could never get group classes. How I found my way to Pilates Avatar. Group classes here did not fill. I don't really have a place to do a bunch of mat classes. I have 300 square feet. I have one of everything crammed in 300 square feet. So Pilates Avatar was a great answer. I could take my existing clientele who wanted to come more often, didn't want to pay me $80 a lesson for it, and so I suggested your audios, and it's working brilliantly. So when they want to come in for a lesson, I'll schedule sometimes 2 or 3 of them at the same time. One will be working on the mat, or one on a reformer, or 2 on mat, so somebody will be on the Cadillac, or somebody will be on the floor on a mat, or somebody will be on the high mat. And they can come in and they can do their Pilates Avatar, and I just watch to make sure nobody's going to get into any sort of trouble, and it works beautifully.
Yeah, that's great. So okay, so I just because I'm curious about you.
Sure.
All right, so you're going through all these programs. Your husband creates this. Now, is this the only studio you've had? So you've been in your location for your
7 years.
Okay, so I understand you're planning to move, right?
Yeah, ideally it would have happened 2 months ago, but it's a process again.
So you'll be moving your studio then too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a new house. I'm a home studio girl.
You're a home studio owner. That's okay. That's right. That's what I want to understand. Well, it's kind of a little freeing. I mean, I went through my phase of owning the studio with a front desk manager and 8 teachers and busy studio, storefront. And it was so freeing, actually, to downsize.
Right?
And then, work out of I have a barn that we've converted. So, but yeah, it's very freeing, isn't it, to just sort of be self-responsible and not worry about, operating a big studio, right?
Yes, it's still work. You still have to wear all the hats. It's just that I don't have to manage so many other people, which is nice.
Well, I love the other stuff that you're doing. Like you're really active on social media and also with workshops. Would you tell everybody about how you operate workshops out of your space? I think it's fascinating, and in the spirit of being generous with knowledge, because that's my philosophy too, and I know that you're like a kindred spirit that way. In the spirit of sharing knowledge and making Pilates more accessible to more people, because really that's the bottom line why I created Pilates Avatar to begin with. But you're kind of doing some interesting stuff, so tell everybody about it.
Okay, well, I decided I can't be the only one that is in my situation. I think everybody can't just hop and leave to go travel somewhere to go see some amazing teacher or have a great experience. So travel is expensive, then you have to have a hotel, you have to figure out a car, you have to figure out food and all that other stuff. And I thought, well, if people could take their computer or their iPad into their studio, there's so much going on by Skype now. I mean, the industry has to move forward and use what we have available. So if there isn't a good classical studio near someone, or they're just not able to go for whatever reason, if you're in Iceland, that's okay. If you're in Puerto Rico, that's okay. Here's the scheduled time. And if it's the middle of the night for you, it's recorded, so you can watch it later. You can send in. I have everybody who attends a workshop, whether they come in person or by Skype, or they watch it on video later, they have an opportunity to send me any questions they would have for the presenter after seeing the workshop. I send those questions off to the presenter and then send them all out to everybody who came. So it's the same Q&A that would have happened in the studio had everybody been here. I try to keep all my workshops at around $125 per person. That keeps it manageable. $125 for 4 to 6 hours of education is no big deal in our industry. Most people charge a lot more. Mm-hmm. So I figured that's a fair price, and if I can market to the globe, then I can get enough people to handle that easily. I can pay the presenter easily, and if there's anything left over, yay me, I make something too.
I think it's brilliant because, we've watched the industry change over the past 25 years from where lessons were maybe $20 or $30 to sometimes of $200. And, some places in New York, I'm like, who can afford that? Like, and I haven't changed my rates in 15 years.
Good for you, girl.
Rate. I'm like, it's $85, that's it. And I kind of like, I want people to be able to afford it, but that's still a lot of money, right? Not a
right.
And the other piece, let's face it. What did Joe say? 4 times a week. We got to be practicing, and that would be a pretty hefty.
Who's got that? I don't have it. I couldn't do it if I had to pay $80 a lesson every 4 times a week.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
Right. So, any little success stories of any of your students you want to share?
Well, I have this one gentleman who is one of my. My clientele has switched over. I have mostly teachers now for students, which for me is really weird, but okay. But I have a client who's a real client, and he loves it. He comes in. He lost 70-something pounds. He stands taller. He can do things he couldn't do before. He's amazing. He can get down and tie his shoes and sleep in his bed instead of the lazy boy. He can get off the couch and get his butt upstairs. So, yeah, he comes in here 3 times a week to do his Pilates Avatar workouts. And, other people don't come as often with it. They'll come and do a workout in the middle here and there. But this guy is amazing. He comes in and he's faithful to it. And he takes 2 lessons a week from me and comes in 2 to 3 times a week to do his Pilates Avatar. So for me, that's a huge success. I understand that doesn't make you a mint, but for him, I'm supremely happy. And I haven't marketed hugely these last couple of months because I'm in that limbo place. But when I get moved, that's definitely what I'm marketing because it's so great for people.
So just for the audience that's listening that might have a home studio like yours, how do you do your billing? How do you do your scheduling with them?
Oh, I schedule and bill it the same way I do any other class. It's listed on my scheduler. On my scheduler is a Pilates Avatar class. So they pay me $15 to come in like they would if they were going to go do a class anywhere. Just a group class anywhere is about $15 or $20. But they come in here after, it's an easy sell because they only buy their audios from you one time, then they own it. So they just collect them, and they own that. So after a while, it doesn't cost them as much, the price point.
The more they use it, the less it actually costs them. It's like cost per wear of your favorite outfit, right?
Yeah, cost per wear, right. So I love it. It was a great answer for me because I'm not a group class girl, but that way I can have 2 or 3 people in here working at the same time on their own thing, and I just keep an eye out.
Okay, so let's talk about this group class thing because let's back up a little. How did group apparatus classes really get off the ground? Wasn't it an answer because it was more economical and more affordable?
Absolutely.
And so, I would like to hear your perspective and your opinion about the pros and cons, let's say, of group classes.
Well, of regular group classes, the pros are you can get more bodies in the room, so financially, I think it works out better to teach group classes for the teacher. But for the student, it's not the best because they don't have the attention to their bodies. So they're not going to get the Pilates promise, in 10 sessions, in 20 sessions, and in 30 sessions. It's not possible because the work isn't concentrated on them, So I think there's a place for group classes. People need to work out. They need to move. And I don't really care, this is maybe not going to sound right, but I don't care that they go to where they go to move. I think it's great that people want to move. I would think it would be better that they would try to find a good place, and I think your idea, Pilates Avatar, makes it more available to people so they don't have to go to the clubs necessarily or the bigger boxes and get a watered down version. They can get the real version.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like, you know, in a group setting, even if it's a duet or a trio, people's attention is less inward. It's less focused because the teacher is looking at three different bodies, kind of trying to find a pace that's suitable for everybody. And, you know, it really takes a very seasoned teacher to really give an individual experience in a group class instead of just giving out the choreography, you know, the directions of the exercise. So, I mean, what I've noticed is that, you know, people put on their headsets and they're really inside themselves. They're really listening. And the other benefit that, I mean, some of the Pilates Avatar students know their transitions and are more disciplined than some of the teachers that come to me. Honestly, you know? So I just, I'm really with you on the, you know, that the original idea that it could be a good solution for the studio owner and the student, it really doesn't serve the student as well in the end. So
no, they're fun. It's fun energy, but it isn't serious.
Yeah. And as a teacher, you can't really be touching as much when you have the, you know,
no, you have to have like a jetpack on and a superhero cape and go fly.
So what's on the horizon for you? Anything you want to share?
Well, Going More Joe is on the horizon, and it's bigger than I ever dreamed because I thought only 5 or 6 people would follow me, and it turns out there's, as of this morning, well over 1,700 in the first year.
Right. So, okay. So for the audience that doesn't know what Going More Joe is, it's your closed Facebook group, right?
It's my closed Facebook group where I have opportunities for contemporary teachers who would like to learn more about the roots of Pilates and classical Pilates, maybe add more classical Pilates to what they're currently teaching, and maybe ultimately they would want to hop switch or do a bridge or a full cert, you know, classically. I think I'm the only person that's linking contemporary teachers up with classical teachers. Like I'm matchmaking. I'm putting teachers with teachers. So I'm increasing pretty much a lot of wallets right now and education. So I'm finding teachers for other teachers to take under their wing. And
wow, that's really cool. You know, I've gone. I mean, thanks for the invitation to the group. I've been. It's just been a crazy couple of weeks, and I've not been really on my social media game. But I am looking forward to hearing some of the conversation, and it's a brilliant idea. Linking up some of the contemporary with the. But hey, that might be another interesting use for Pilates Avatar is for these new teachers just to start practicing and hearing.
I think it would be brilliant for them. Brilliant for them. What I'm finding is it's a little bit. People are very. I don't know what the right word is, but they love what they've learned. So I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm very clear on I'm a contemporary teacher who found classical. So there's more like me, What I'm trying to do is get rid of the thing that classical people are a bunch of divas and that the contemporary people don't know anything. That's not true. The contemporary people have huge toolboxes full of things, but they're maybe a little misguided in some areas. And here's the classical people who have never been contemporary, so they don't know how much we have to empty out of our heads to make room for actually the simpler. I mean, there's less colors on the springs, there's less to change, there's less to do, there's more flow in classical, but it's a very hard transition. It's very hard for classical people to understand that the contemporary people aren't stupid, that we actually know a lot of things, and we just want more help and more guidance. And then the contemporary people who, but we have these we can do for that person, or that person can't do a full classical. They don't understand that there's breakdowns for everything. That you don't have to invent a new exercise because somebody is unable or something is not available to someone.
Right, right.
So there's a learning curve both ways.
There is a learning curve both ways, and I think that you're absolutely right, having it be inclusive and a positive exchange. Because, hey, listen, I mean, I didn't come from a contemporary background, but I was a fitness person. I was I have a degree in exercise science from Northeastern University. I was an aerobics teacher. I was a personal trainer. I used to do educations for people that needed to pass their IDEA exam. That's how much I'm going back, because it was before ACE Fitness was even on the map. We're talking the 80s. And
I've gained fun and stuff. I got that thong and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
But I had to empty out my mind in order to be able to receive the what Pilates had to give me. I was stubbornly in my fitness mind. It was just me, and it was like, I'll never forget when, there was a teacher at Romana's studio. Her name was Rocky. She had been a Pilates teacher, or came from the fitness world too, and I'll never forget the day that she pulled me into the restroom, to have a conversation with me. She's just like, just study Romana's words. Just study her words. And I was just having such a hard time. I was over teaching everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, I was so stuck on that, and I was, teaching to music and then teaching Pilates not to music and finding the unique rhythms in each exercise. I mean, I was a mess. And so that whole way of what you said was clearing out the mind to have a beginner's mind, like the empty cup that can fill up. It's a lot harder than people think when you're, coming from a movement philosophy, like the fitness philosophy, rep sets and loads instead of less repetitions and more variety, like in Pilates.
Right.
So I mean, that's how I relate to coming from a stot or contemporary background, or any of the other trainings, and then getting around classical. Anyway, I just applaud that so much, Sunni, that you're making connections like that, because I feel like our community is small. We're kind of a small community, and as much as we can build each other up in the spirit of that, we're all so much stronger in the end. So.
Hey, it's who knew how hard it was going to be. I bought this classical apparatus before I really knew what to do on it. So I felt for a long time like my stuff was smarter than I was, and I just kept, plowing at it. Now I don't know that I could teach a contemporary class, because I tried so hard to separate things out. I feel like my brain has dividers in it. This stuff is classical, this stuff is this stuff is that, this stuff is that. And none of that should mix.
That was not funny. Category, you have compartments.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way I can think about it, because now I'm offering these workshops where we're taking people who are, I call them mentorships, but there's workshopy, and mine, I call it the nuts and bolts, where I talk about how to hack your apparatus. So how to make your Allegro work more like, a Gratz or a classical piece. Where would your foot bar be? Tape it off at 20 inches. It doesn't go that wide. We work it inside our frame. We work smaller. It isn't 12 steps for footwork before we get onto something else. And, use the long handles for the 100, and the long loops and the double loops. Use the long loops for your hands, the long loops for your feet, for frogs and leg circles. And the short ones are for short spine. And, the little things like that are, people are like, wow, they're big head scratchers.
Yeah, they are, because it's, but it's good though, because if you understand how the Gratz reformers work, and the handles and the leather strap, then you get a sense of the measurement and the space.
Yes.
But that's good. You're providing a great service, Miss Sunni. I'm
Hopefully.
Proud of you, girl.
Thank you. I'm blown away by things like this, where people like you call me to talk.
Well, I'm excited because I mean, here I am. You know, I can go on and talk about Pilates Avatar, but it doesn't make a difference because people can relate to other people also, and they need
Yeah.
to relate to other people that might have a similar situation to them. So, and you're very, you're well respected in the community, and people recognize you and listen to you, and actually look up to you too. So
It's news to me, but thank you.
give yourself a little pat on the back for that. It's true. So
It's all cool.
it's all cool. Well, listen, my friend from the other side of the country, it's nice to talk with you and check in with you, and I really appreciate your time and for your sharing.
Sure. Hey, Claire, if you want to put Pilates Avatar on Going More Joe, you're welcome to.
Thanks, honey. I will.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Have a fabulous afternoon.
I will. So I'll see you out there in cyberspace and maybe in California. I'll be filming with Pilatesology in December.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I want the body in your class.
Do you? Well, give Elisa a call.
I will.
Okay?
Okay, Claire.
All right, my
thank you.
dear.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.